So as you're moving forward in your life, what you're doing is pushing past fear, always, at all times. Whenever you're choosing to do anything, to make any decision, you're pushing past fear. Whether that's to manifest something you think you want, to make something happen, to create some manifested reality or of a desire, you have to push past fear. If you're doing it for desire, well, most of your desires are based in fear. And so the action that you take is struggle and effort. And when you manifest something, it's never really going to give you the feeling you thought you'd get, because what's happening here is you're basing that desire on the lack of that manifested reality. So you're creating from a basis of fear, perceiving that if your desire is manifested, well, then you'll feel better. And so that's really the opposite of how this situation works, how this physical reality works. What you really want to do is just realize that you're expanding to a new version of yourself, to a new understanding, to a new level of clarity. Now, if you could let go of all those things you think you want, if you could realize they're all based in a feeling of lack of some sort, or trying to solve some issue you think you have, and just let that go and realize that if that's necessary for your journey of self-discovery, those things will be manifested into your reality without any effort or struggle whatsoever. In fact, you'll just be inspired to some action, and that action would lead to the manifested reality of those desires, if they're required, if they're necessary. But if they're not required or necessary, or if they don't help or benefit you in any way, then you really wouldn't want them manifested in your reality in the first place, because they would be distractions. What you want to think about is who you are now. So who you are now is a eternal, magnificent, limitless being of pure positive love and acceptance, who is the creator of your reality. You are creating it all. You create everything. Everything is a creation sourced from you. Now that could be an experience of something unwanted. That unwanted experience would show you a limiting belief, and you could process that and reduce the intensity of that limiting belief. So that's a good thing. Or it could be something that leads you on to a higher or more clear idea of who you are, which is what you truly want. You want expansion, which leads to self-discovery, to know who you are, to understand better your power, why you're here, what you're here to process, what you're here to explore, what you're here to do in service for others. All of this is set in your pre-birth intentions. Those pre-birth intentions were made without any fear. They were made purely in love. And if you live your life pushing past fear to act on inspiration that would move you forward, you'll get more clarity as to who you are, why you're here. Your superpowers will come online, your talents and attributes will all shift and come into your awareness. You'll see why you have the talents and personality and attributes that you have. It'll make sense to you. And really the system works by leading you to that which is interesting to you, to your passions and those interesting things and fun and joy and all that. So everything you truly want is fun, joy, based in love, excitement, exhilaration, more clarity, expansion. And that can all be done effortlessly and easily if you just follow inspiration. But upon receiving inspiration, you'll always have some fear, because the expanded version of you that will exist after you take the action has a different set of beliefs. The limited version of you has limiting beliefs, beliefs without enough information. The action that you take to move from one level to the next level will give you information, filling in those limiting beliefs and making them more empowering. You can do that work now, because anytime you face a manifestation event, what's really happening is that the universe is showing you a limiting belief. The limiting belief simply is a belief without enough information. Over a period of time, that information will fill in on its own. And so you could look back at some event that happened in your youth, maybe your first breakup, and you can realize that the feeling that you had, that disappointment or frustration or anger that you had, that in that transpired reality where you felt like you lost something you loved. Looking back at it now, over time, information has been added, and so that doesn't feel as bad as it did back then. In fact, for most of you, it doesn't feel bad at all. In fact, for most of you, you realize that that had to happen to launch you on a trajectory towards the life that you're living right now. And if that didn't happen the way it happened, you would leave some other life and you would not be here now. So what you truly wanted was to be where you are right now, interested in these ideas, exploring more of who you are on your journey of self-discovery, just as you intended prior to your birth. So then everything is working out perfectly because you are here now. That means that everything in your life was always perfect all along. But some of it you were resisting. Some of it you thought was bad. Why did you think it was bad? Because you had a limiting belief. The limiting belief was triggered when the experience happened, and you felt negative emotion because you were perceiving it from a limited perspective. From the higher perspective, you could see at the time that it was all working out for you, but you chose not to. You chose to react to it as if it was wrong. You chose a perception of reality that was not true. And your inner self sent you a message in the form of negative emotion to let you know that your perspective at that time was not true. You can see that now. It makes sense now because time has passed and you've gained more information, and those limiting beliefs do not exist at the same level that they did back then. So you must know that going forward, anytime you have a manifestation event, it's showing you a limiting belief. Are you going to try and change the conditions and react in fear and act on urges to control things? Or are you going to see it from the higher perspective now? Well, if you choose to see it from the higher perspective now, if you choose a perception of reality that is true, the negative emotion will go away because it's not needed. The negative emotion is only there to indicate to you that you're choosing a limited perspective. But if you're choosing the higher perspective, then the negative emotion is not necessary and it will fade. You will feel better. You will feel feelings of relief, joy, exhilaration, interest, or simply acceptance. And if you can do that with any manifestation event that happens now, you can always do that in the future. So you could know going forward that it's your choice always to perceive anything as good or bad, whether you have a limiting belief or not. Now, the limiting belief will be automatically triggered in the moment, but how quickly can you choose the higher perspective? That's what you're doing now. That's why you're all enrolled in these courses now, to be aware of those times when you're choosing a limited perspective and to not react or not act on urges to change and control the conditions. Imagine that. Imagine simply not lingering in negative emotion. Imagine being able to mentally process your limiting beliefs. Imagine being able to choose higher perspectives and feel better instantly. Well, that's something that most people don't have, but you have that. And so if you could do that, you would realize that by not acting on an urge to change the conditions, you would not go into a tailspin or into an exploration of who you're not. You would go back into alignment. And in alignment, you would receive inspiration. And that inspiration would lead you to the next level, to a level of more clarity, where now it's even easier to see the manifestation events. It's even easier to see who you are. It's even easier to see the limiting beliefs without all the manifestation events happening, because you can find those limiting beliefs the second you feel resistant thought, the second you judge anything, the second you think anything is wrong. Everyone else is lingering in what they think is wrong, is lingering in fear, is trying to protect themselves and put up barriers and defenses to protect themselves from negative emotion. You're coming to a point now where you don't need to do that, because why would you? This is an inherent part of the physical reality. That negative emotion is your guidance. And now you're seeing it for what it is. And you're seeing that when you receive negative emotion, you're perceiving the illusion. It is not true. What you think is wrong is not wrong. Now, how is this even possible? How in the world could it not be wrong? Well, it's only wrong because you have a limiting belief and it's being triggered and you feel fear. You say, oh, it's not going to turn out the way I think it should turn out. Oh, it's not going to go the way I think it should go. Oh, it's not going to be the ideal that I'm attaching myself to. Oh, it's going to have some meaning about me. Oh, it's going to interfere with my life in some way. Of course it isn't. Of course not. It's just your perspective that's interfering with your life. It's just the way you're looking at it that's causing you to feel fear. The fear is always irrational, and you can prove to yourself every single time that the fear is irrational. The limiting belief is simply limiting. Now, you have limiting beliefs. You've adopted them along the way. Maybe you've brought them in from other lifetimes. They are there. They exist. Why do they exist? Well, are you ready to move to who you truly are? Are you ready to actually expand? Are you really ready to come into your power? Are you really ready to live a different life, a different approach to life? And the fear says, we will see if you're ready or not. And you'll say, I can push past the fear or not. I am ready or not. That's up to you. But if you look at everything from the higher perspective, you will know you're ready. Because what are you? You're limitless. You're essentially limitless. You're a being of love. You're infinite. You are that which is infinite. You have no limits. All those limitations are self-imposed. Why would you impose them? Because you can't handle the fear. Why can't you handle the fear? because you're not used to pushing out of your comfort zone to do the things you're inspired to do, because you can't see the payoff. You want to see the payoff. If you're desperate for $1 million, you'll effort and struggle and work your way night and day, hour after hour, doing things you don't want to do to attain the $1 million that you don't have. And when you get that $1 million, maybe for a second, you'll be happy about it, but then you'll feel the same way you did before, and you'll realize it never meant anything ever. And all that time that you spend trying to accumulate that money and all that effort and all that energy that's spent on this that could be spent on who you truly are in ease and joy, which is the design of the system, well, do that enough times and you'll figure out that's not the way things should work. The way things should work is that I should see myself for who I am. I should see everyone else for who they are. I should see how this physical reality actually works. And then I should leverage that physical reality and the laws of the universe to what? Discover who I am. That's the only thing that matters. That was your only pre-birth intention. Discover, discover, discover through expansion. Every time you act, whether it's towards the manifestation of some desire, that's expansion. It's not really that effective because it's trying to manifest something you think you lack. But every time you act on inspiration, you move another step towards the realization of who you are, and limitations drop away. You gain confidence and clarity and understanding of who you truly are. You see the system for how it works. You see everyone else, whether they're living in fear or not. You understand what's happening outside there. Isn't that amazing? Wouldn't that be incredible to really know what's going on? If you really knew what's going on, you would never, ever, 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 not 1 minute ever, live in fear. Because you would know how the system is working. It's perfect in every way. So who are those people living in fear? Those people who are living in fear are looking at everything from the limited perspective, as if they are the victim living in a malevolent universe. That's the illusion. That's why they're in fear. As they evolve through acting through inspiration, they gain clarity. They get out of the illusion. You are all moving out of the illusion now. You are all gaining vast amount of clarity. You are all seeing things from a new perspective. Life is getting a little bit easier, a little bit more fun, a little bit more joyful. You're operating much more effectively. You're moving along that journey with ease. Manifestation events don't have to happen all the time now. You can catch it in the stage when it's a resistant thought or a judgment. And so this is a process, and you're all doing magnificently well. Whether you're on this call now or listening at a later date, you must know that by listening to this information, just that is enough to cause you to move into new levels of expansion in joy rather than suffering. And that's what this life is all about. It's all about the joy, all about the ease, all about giving up the resistance and letting things flow as you intended prior to your birth. And when you can do that, it's magical. So many things happen that you couldn't even imagine would ever happen before. So many miracles take place. So many synchronicities, so many new people, so many new ideas, so much rush of inspiration. It all gets easier and easier and easier and better and better and better. This reality is getting better and better and better and better. Some can't see it. Why can't they see it? They're looking at it from a limited perspective as the victim. Those of you who are choosing to look at it from a higher perspective can see that was not a bad thing. That was a good thing. That's not a bad thing at all. I have nothing to fear. I can see how it's all playing out. It's all getting better. It's all getting easier. It's all getting more fun. It's all getting more abundant. It's all getting more free. It's all coming together for me to finally discover who I am. And with that, we'd like to talk to you about anything you'd like to talk about. Who would like to start?